Welcome back to the Rise and Grind Workshop. If you're new here, my name is Ryan, and for today's video, I am really excited to share with you this new machine you see sitting right here beside of me. Ever since I started expanding my laser knowledge and I learned what a UV laser was, I've personally wanted one here in the Rise and Grind Workshop for quite some time. So when ComMarker reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in reviewing their all-new OMNI 1 5-watt UV laser, it was as if the laser gods could read my minds and they were shining down upon me. And of course, I said yes. So now would be an appropriate time to thank the amazing team over there at ComMarker for thinking of the Rise and Grind Workshop and sending us this unit. I'm really excited to share with you what this unit is all about. As you guys know, we're all about education this year and teaching you guys how to expand your business. And this laser engraver right here is going to be the ticket that's going to help you do that. Now, at first glance, many of you might be thinking, isn't that just another fiber laser? I am finding out that many people don't truly understand what a fiber laser is. They never even knew what a UV laser was. And that's right, the UV stands for ultraviolet. This is what we're going to call a cold laser. That's why it has a 5-watt rating, but don't let that 5-watt fool you. A little bit later in the video, we're going to show you how aggressive this can actually remove material with the proper settings. This unit right here on the front of this laser, this is called a galvo head. So whenever you see a unit like this, don't quickly assume that this is a fiber laser. A fiber laser has the same galvo head up in the front. This big unit you see right here in the back, this is the actual power supply and this is the UV laser. So the way this unit works, this is shooting a UV laser beam and that is coming up into this galvo head, which has a couple sets of mirrors in there, which is refracting that laser beam image, and it's coming through a focal lens. These focal lenses come in a wide variety of sizes, and the OMNI 1 does come equipped with a 70mm and a 150mm, and you can also equip it with larger or smaller size lenses depending on the specific application you may need. So when you see a laser standing here like this, you need to understand it's truly a galvo laser. Then you need to identify the power source or power supply. Again, this is a UV. If this happened to be a fiber laser, this would be a fiber laser power supply, which would then be shooting a fiber laser beam still through the galvo head. That's why that's going to be called a split fiber galvo laser. Then if we were to get real technical and you were looking at a MOPA fiber laser, I'm going to butcher it, but that's a master oscillator power amplifier. That's going to allow you much more precise control over your Q pulse and your width, etc. Most people get really excited for the MOPA because of the colors. That's just really a small factor of what a MOPA does. So that would technically be a MOPA fiber laser. And if you're a rotary person, let me tell you, ComMarker does make a CO2 galvo laser. That's what you want to set up with a rotary attachment. That will do every color of tumbler consistently without having to change or chase your settings all the time. And it's incredibly fast. We'll talk about that later in another video. So now with that dissertation out of the way, we could go ahead and dive into this unit right here. One of the things that I really like about this OMNI 1, this could be a portable unit. It has a really thin base and it's pretty lightweight and it's got a nice robust feel. So if you wanted to take this thing to like a craft show or some type of pop-up event, that would be no problem. And this is just going to work off of your standard 110 or 115. So as you can see, this UV laser does share a lot of similarities with a fiber laser. And one of the things that I really like about the OMNI 1, don't let that price point fool you and think it's going to be lacking features. We have laser engravers in our shop that cost over $10,000 and they still have a hand crank on the top. The OMNI 1 does feature an automatic up and down Z height. I didn't really think that was very important, but once you start using one, it's like driving a Cadillac. Once you've had that nice smooth ride, you just don't want to go back to that crappy beater. Now let's get you some dimensions. The length front to back is 23.5 inches. The width outside to outside is 13 3/4. And our height comes in at 26 inches to the flat and 27.5 to the top of this knob. And speaking of this knob, earlier we touched on the auto Z height, and this does have a manual adjustment for fine tuning it. And the overall weight is approximately 51 pounds. All types of laser engravers have some pros and cons. Clearly this one here is going to be lacking the overall size. If you're used to seeing a large format CO2 laser engraver, the size of this might shock you, and that's why we call this a specialized laser engraver. And I really highly recommend that you guys have a niche product, or at least know exactly what you want to be laser engraving with, as an item like this is going to be limited on the table size. So at this point in the video, you're probably thinking, well, just get to it. What the hell does this damn thing do? You guys have most likely heard of a CO2 laser engraver or a fiber laser, and the question I get asked most often is, does a CO2 laser do metal? But that's just a very broad question. Yes, it can do metal, but it cannot etch or eat into or cut metal. It can work with metal, but all it's going to be doing is removing things like powder coating or anodized coatings, or you can spray special markings on there and work with stainless steel and get kind of a black coating on it. So you are often left with making that decision. What type of product am I going to make? Am I going to buy a fiber laser, or am I going to buy a CO2 laser engraver? Well, that's kind of where the magic happens with a 5-watt UV laser. This is going to be what I call the jack of all trades when it comes to one of these small compact UV lasers. A fiber laser is really designed to be working with metal such as like stainless steel coins, brass, and gold. However, the only reason those specialize in that, people are typically doing really deep 3D engravings, and that's where you really need that power. This little 5-watt unit will still work with gold and silver as well. I'm also going to put a little graphic on the screen down below that also shows all the wide variety of materials. The main reason we were interested in this UV laser, and what you will see most people using their UV lasers for, are glass engravings. So clearly, if you're wanting to do something like large 18x36 flags, this type of setup would not be good for you. Where this thing really excels and shines is its speed. Earlier we touched on this galvo head. That's going to allow this unit to do high-speed precision laser engravings at up to 10,000 millimeters a second, where most your entry-level CO2 laser engravers start out at about 600 millimeters, and some of your higher-end units can only do up to 1,200 millimeters. Clearly, the CO2 laser shines with its large work envelope and the wide variety of materials, whereas this UV laser is going to have a much smaller work envelope, but it is the master of all materials. And the unit that was shipped out to us came with all the accessories that you see on the screen down below. One of the packages they offer does come with a rotary attachment, and this unit is capable of using a rotary attachment. On the back side of it, it does have a standard 4-pin connector. This unit already has multiple videos of people doing a full complete unboxing and a setup on that, so I don't want to waste your guys' time with that. Jump onto YouTube, do a search for that, and you'll find that. We're going to get ready to dive right in and show you how this thing works and what I really like about it. So on the back side of the unit, if you want to use a rotary attachment, you would plug that into the top 4-pin connector. These are a high-speed laser engraver, so these do come equipped with a foot pedal. That way you could do rapid repetition and knock out product extremely fast. And you can also pick up a safety enclosure for the entire unit as well. This was a very easy unit to set up, and like I said, guys, plenty of tutorials online currently. So let's go ahead and address a couple talking points at once. This is an open source laser, so anytime you're firing a laser beam into material, you're going to be emitting all kinds of smoke and debris. For this setup right here, we're just using this small little filter box. We are going to be getting a much larger filter box in here, and as soon as we do, we'll be doing an unboxing and going over that and talking about how important your lung health is. Number two, just like any other laser, you're going to need to put this thing in focus. If you're new to fiber lasers, here's how you're going to focus it. This unit does come with a button on the top here, and when you press that, there are some red light indicators. I will show you how to use those a little bit later in the video. What I really want you to pay attention to is the number right here on the side of the galvo head. There's a line right here that says measure from this line, and this says 335 millimeters. That is your focal length that is set from the factory, and that is going to be your baseline setting. That's going to keep you in the most optimal focal position, but depending on the type of project that you're working with, you're going to realize that when it comes to something like these galvo lasers or fiber lasers or UV, you can really get different results by making them in focus or out of focus by a couple millimeters. We work with a material called Leatherette here at the Rise and Grind workshop, specifically Lonestar Leatherette. This is a high quality premium leatherette with thermal adhesive on the backside, and this comes in a wide variety of colors and textures. And while that may be fun and appealing to the eye, as a laser operator or engraver, that could be quite challenging. I've had the opportunity to laser engrave leatherette on a wide variety of machines, from CO2 lasers to fiber lasers to diode lasers, and now we have the ultimate leatherette engraving machine, in my opinion, and that is this UV laser. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing set up, and I'm first gonna demonstrate some rawhide leatherette. This is one of the easiest colors to laser engrave. Your fiber laser, your CO2 laser, and your UV will handle this no problem. Where you start to run into some challenges is when you run into certain colors like this red here, and I'm gonna show you what happens with this on a fiber laser, and then I'm gonna show you how clean a UV laser can do some of these problematic colors. Now, one area most people will struggle with, and I myself am struggling with it because I'm new to it, but like anything in life, you gotta spend some time on that machine. ComMarker did include on their USB drive, there's an actual library for materials. Now keep in mind, these are just baseline settings. You're gonna have to use a little observation and common sense to make some adjustments. So here's how to properly focus your Omni 1 for this application. We're gonna slide our leatherette material out here onto our flat work surface. They're gonna include a ruler for you. Go ahead and place that on the outside of the galvo head there. Now this is where that auto Z height really shines. All right, we're looking good there. Another feature I really like about this Omni 1, it has a drilled and tapped work surface, and they provide you with some jigs and fixtures. You can make your own, you can 3D print anything you can dream of, but this is fantastic for getting set up for high volume production, and you can just create a fixture point for repetitive work. Now, if you have a CO2 laser engraver or a fiber laser engraver and you go and frame your work, you're going to see that same red infrared beam framing your artwork. I'm going to show you something really quick. We are framing right now. Do you see anything on that leatherette? Absolutely not. So you might be wondering why they've included this bright yellow neon acrylic. Take a quick look at that. Do you guys now see where that is framing on top of that leatherette? So the main reason I'm sharing this with you, I was a dumbass and I was hitting frame and I thought nothing was working. I jumped online and I saw a lot of people were talking about that issue, and this right here is the problem. Again, I was new to UV lasers. I just want to share that with you so you don't make that same mistake. You really got to get this in there. So now that we have our Lonestar leatherette placed on the work table, we are actually framing this job out. Only problem, you can't see it. I'm going to activate the infrared light on the top of the galvo head, and you'll notice those two laser indicators. If you're used to a CO2 laser or a fiber laser, that's how you would normally frame your job. We don't have the luxury with that because this is a UV laser, but watch this magic. And that's because that's an ultraviolet laser beam. You're simply going to use this to make sure you're framing over your material, and we're in focus, so we're good to go. So one thing about leatherette, if you put too much power on it, you get a lot of soot and cleanup. People hate cleaning their leatherette patches. Take a look at that. That is fresh off of the UV laser. We can still dial in the settings. We are still just learning this UV, but there is no cleanup involved on that. Extremely clean, extremely fast. Again, that's one of the benefits of having a small, compact, powerful UV laser like this. Next up, you can buy these in bulk, and I do lots of test cards with these. This is going to be an anodized aluminum business card. I believe we got these off of Amazon. And down below in the description, I will have a link to my Amazon store if you guys do want to look at some of the products that we use here in the Rise and Grind workshop. We're going to go ahead and set that on the work table, frame it out, and go ahead and show you how that works. These little business cards are a great way to hone your laser engraving skills. If you've tried to use these on anything like a CO2 laser engraver or a fiber laser, the moment you put too much heat on one of these cards, you're going to start to get a lot of bowing. That's a major problem. Earlier, I referenced this as a cold laser. They also call this an organic laser. We rapidly removed that anodized coating, and this thing was cold to the touch. There's no warping at all on this business card. That is one of the advantages of having a UV laser. It can still rapidly remove material off of metal. One of the most popular materials that people use inside a laser engraving workshop is something like this wood right here, and this happens to be 3mm Baltic birch, and we've stained this black. One of the challenges with a fiber laser, they can do a wide variety of items. However, they cannot do things like wood, where a CO2 laser can engrave wood, but it can't do metal. That's what I find fascinating about a UV laser. I've already shown you that we could do leatherette. We've already done some anodized aluminum, and now I'm going to show you that we could actually work with wood as well. So how cool is that? A UV laser can actually do Baltic birch. That looks pretty incredible. That is a tiny little engraving as well. So next up is an extremely profitable item. You can pick these up for extremely cheap, and in the right niche and the right design, these can be extremely profitable. These are Slate coasters. We've got one loaded up on the table. Let's go ahead and engrave one of those. We're going to engrave a round logo onto the square coaster, and you can see how easy it is to align it utilizing the yellow piece of Plex. Slate is really an underrated material to work with, and it's actually one of my favorite materials to work with. I don't know why. That just looks incredible. That ComMarker logo looks fantastic. That UV laser handled that extremely well. Another thing I want to mention, because I know we'll get comments about our settings that we're using here, this is a UV laser. It uses a completely different set of parameters from something like a CO2 laser, and we are still taking a deep dive and always learning our fiber lasers. So although we are new to this, you can clearly see with the material library provided, we're able to get through a wide variety of materials, and we're getting excellent results on it. So right now I want to share with you another item you might be interested in using your UV laser for. This is just some basic cardboard packaging. Most people are putting some sort of a sticker on this. This is now going to allow you to engrave your own logo on here. You're going to get a nice contrasting color, and it's not going to burn this cardboard material. Again, that's why they call this a cold laser or an organic laser. Let's go ahead and see what this can do. Now, one thing I just discovered, sometimes you'll get lucky. Take a look at that. The cardboard, you can actually see that UV framing. So we're going to go ahead and blast that into the cardboard, and we'll see how it does. So how cool is that? You can buy affordable packaging and do your own branding on it now without worrying about burning that packaging up. That's just one of the benefits of that UV laser. Really impressed. We could obviously dial in the settings a little bit better, but guys, this is just from the factory OMNI material library settings. So colors, especially on leatherette, like red, pink, oranges, and teals, can be a little difficult to engrave on a fiber laser. Let's go ahead and see how this UV laser does on something like this Lonestar leatherette in red. So if you have any experience with red leatherette on a fiber laser, this did not gum up and melt the material at all. That made a very nice, clean engraving. I am super excited that I can now use this UV laser and process patches really fast, no cleanup, and I can now hit the hard colors, all thanks to the ComMarker OMNI 1 5-watt UV laser. So we did go ahead and save the best for last. We have a glass shot glass. I am sure most of you watching this video are interested in UV lasering glass. You've tried every which way with different lasers. At the end of the day, besides sandblasting glass to etch it, UV laser is where it's at. We're gonna go ahead and try some different settings. From what I've experienced, there's a lot of people trying glass. Glass can be very tricky to UV engrave, so don't get mad at the machine. It could honestly just be the quality of the glass you're using. Not only that, if you order in 50 of these shot glasses, the quality of the glass can also vary as well, depending on what batch they came from. So again, glass is just gonna take a little bit of trial and error. I highly recommend you take notes, and you just have to pay attention. We call it burning to learn. I'm gonna start with some basic baseline settings. I'm gonna observe it, I'm gonna take some notes, and I'm gonna go from there. So hopefully we can get some good results for you guys on camera. So we've hit that with one pass, and this was the factory setting that clearly didn't get the desired results. With glass, a lot of times you have to do multiple passes. We're gonna make some setting changes and see what happens. So for this run, we increased our LPI and I checkmarked wobble. Let's give it a run. Well, there you have it, guys. The smile on my face is genuine. This is my first time laser engraving glass on a UV laser, and I am more than blown away by the results. And as you guys saw, I'm going through the same learning curve as you. We hit it with the factory settings. I was not happy with those results. All I did is activate the wobble setting inside of Lightburn, and I increased my LPI all the way up to 500. And just based on that, that's already a really clean engraving. It didn't eat through onto the backside of the glass and hit the backside as well. That right there is a perfect glass engraving, and I cannot wait to see what kind of projects we can make in the future on this ComMarker OMNI 1. So there you have it. I just ran you guys through a complete overview of the ComMarker OMNI 1 5-watt UV laser. Again, this is a cold laser or an organic laser. This was just a sampling of some of the materials that you can laser engrave. I'm going to drop a picture on the screen again below, just so you can see the entire list of everything that this UV laser can engrave. It's going to be a very difficult decision for you when it comes time to purchasing a laser. If you're making small craft items like this size unit might be perfect for you. However, if you need a giant large workbed, you might consider something like a CO2 laser engraver. And the team over at ComMarker is gracious enough to allow us to offer you guys a 5% discount when you use our code RISENGRIND. The price point of the OMNI 1 is already completely mind-blowing. There's no other UV laser on the market that comes with this many features, built this well, provides that level of customer service at this price point, and when you can knock 5% off, you might as well pick one up. Trust me, you're not going to be disappointed with this laser. So once again, big thank you to the team over there at ComMarker. I have always wanted a UV laser, and now I have one in the workshop. I could spend a lot of time just on the initial overview on this laser engraver. You guys know I talk too much and go way too into detail, so I'm trying to cut this one short. Now might be a fantastic time to make sure you are subscribed to this channel, and I'm going to highly encourage you, drop a comment below. I make these videos for you guys. I don't want to sit around and watch my own videos. So again, let me know what topics you want me to cover. I know that UV laser is kind of new in the laser engraving world, and glass was one of the most difficult things to laser engrave, along with the colored leatherettes. I covered those two in this video. So if you had any doubts or questions on glass or different color leatherette, this is for sure the machine to pick up. And once again, save 5% using our discount code RISENGRIND. Once again, we'll catch you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.